welcome back to Figured Out Women's Bodybuilding Breakdown. I'm your host, Abby Kay, and my co-host.
Hello, I'm Anna, co-host.
We're excited to come back for our second episode tonight, right on the heels of Junior Nationals this past weekend.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. Anna, you have any thoughts? Right off the bat.
Off the top of my head, I'm getting ready for a national show, so I was just super excited to watch. The NPC News Online Instagram did a really good job of putting out the call outs right as they were happening, and I was just furiously looking on my phone all day. I always love watching other people turn pro because obviously that's what I want to do. So it makes me really happy to see people achieve those dreams.
I agree. And I think NPC News Online has done a really good job. It depends on the show, but for the most part, they're on top of posting. I think they realize that Instagram is the number one source for a lot of people. And so really getting that posted on Instagram so that everyone can share and find out the results has been a huge improvement, I think, in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I like it.
They do get them up on NPC News Online pretty quickly as well, but I think
that's true. Yeah.
The Instagram upload is really where the majority of us get our bodybuilding news.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a few comments about Junior Nationals before we even talk about the people who won their pro card. And I'm really surprised. I'm not sure if it's COVID related or what, but I am really surprised by how few competitors there were at the show and the division of competitors at the show. As we all know, most of the categories are done by height, at least in the women's divisions. And so you might have a group, a really big group of people who are 5'2", but you might have a much smaller group of people who are 5'5" or 5'6". And so what's interesting about NPC Junior Nationals this year is that there were some categories that had 10 competitors and some categories that would have 1 or 2. And I think that overall, we need to really assess how we divide the categories so that we don't have pro qualifying shows where the class winner wins a pro card and there are only 2 people in a class. I don't think it's fair to a class winner either because they might look the best they've ever looked. They might be shredded and built and be a phenomenal athlete, just be phenomenal physique, and they might win their pro card in a class of 2 people. And I don't really think that's fair to that person. I think that they deserve, after all that hard work, to be in a competitive class.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I think what would be ideal is if we created some sort of clause in the NPC bylines or something for promoters that if there are less than, I don't know, let's say 5 people in a class, that maybe we have to combine 2 similar height classes, or maybe we shift the height classes. So like, let's say for instance that, and you can give me your feedback on this. Let's say we have people who are 5 foot to like 5'1.5", right? Like, let's just say that's class A, just for ease of conversation. And then we have 2 people in that category. And then from 5'1.5" to 5'3", we have 8 people or 10 people. And then the next category, we have however many more people. I think that we sort of shift those lines a little bit so that some of that higher class, maybe we make it 5 foot to 5'2", or you know what I mean? I think there should be some sort of a clause in there or some sort of a guideline. That way we don't end up with huge categories or really, really big discrepancies in the sizes between these 2 classes.
I mean, in general, these shows, you have to sign up for them in advance. So in general, shows going in should have an idea of how many people are going to be there in one division. For example, figure. It makes sense to me that once the entry is closed, the night before check-ins or whatever, when entry is done, you can't get in anymore, that they would assess how many competitors they have in a division, say, okay, we have 80 figure competitors here. That's plenty to have 8 classes, 10 people each. Perfect. Let's say they had, 30 figure competitors show up. Well, maybe they should really just do 3 classes. I mean, I know that would cause some variety in height among the NPC girls, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the height difference matters that much on the pro stage. So, could we have just bigger ranges for our height classes if we don't have enough people? I mean, that seems simple to me. I don't know.
I love that you just made that comment about the pro stage, because you're right. There are no height classes on the pro stage in something like figure or women's physique or women's bodybuilding. They're all together.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing a pro qualifier, then theoretically you're getting ready to be a pro. And I think people might be have a little bit of an attitude about that if they find that their categories are being combined. But we're not suggesting put someone who's 5'8" with someone who's 5'.
No.
We're suggesting altering the categories just a little bit to spread some of that wealth out, because as someone who's 5'5.5", I wouldn't mind being put in a class either way, to be honest with you. It doesn't really bother me as a competitor.
Right.
So I don't see why it should be that big of a deal. I think that they just need to create, like you said, they know ahead of time, or they at least know by the night before the show.
Right.
They know how many people are there. They can do an assessment, they can get organized, and they can, reassess and rearrange the divisions a little bit.
I mean, I think that would be better than having, I think there was even one person in one of the classes.
Yeah, there was.
This feels so bad for somebody that goes and wins their pro card by default, when genuinely, like you said, could be the best physique they've ever brought to that stage, and it just like takes the wind right out of your sails. I mean, that's my worst fear, I feel like, for my eventual turning pro experience. Like,
you want to feel like you got up there and like you dominated, right?
Yeah. And back when I started competing in NPC Tennessee is where I started competing. It was Tennessee League. They used to do that at local shows. They would say, this is where we think you're going to be on the show sign up page. They would say, we think you're going to be this height class. But if there weren't enough athletes at the end of the day, right before the show, they would rearrange the height classes. I've had it happen to me a couple of times.
Really? I didn't know that happened.
They measured me, put me in one class, and then later when I got to the show, they were like, no, you're this class. We've rearranged everything. And like, you just shuffle around and readjust and whatever. That's what happens.
It is what happens. And you at that point, you've done all of the work.
Yeah.
You
what could it change?
Muscle building. You've done the weeks of prep. Yeah, like nothing about your physique is changing. So it shouldn't really be a huge concern if you're with people who are half an inch taller than you or half an inch shorter than you. Do you know?
I totally difference. Yeah. Better than the alternative, that's for sure.
And there's a lot of conversation about, and I hear this on the men's focused podcasts, there's a lot of conversation about the ease of turning pro these days. Now, here we both are, two amateurs, right? Like, oh, is it really that easy? We're not saying easy to turn pro, but there is a definite shift in how many people can turn pro. And I think shows like this are a good example, because you're giving out a pro card every single class winner at Junior Nationals, whereas at Junior USA's is top 3 in the overall. You know what I mean? So I do wonder about the discrepancy between the two shows there. They're both junior shows, and they're supposed to be sort of stepping stones for the other shows, but they no longer sort of act in that function anymore. They're now pro shows. And I wonder, now we're getting a little bit deeper into the whole like pro card chasing conversation, but I wonder if these shows would even be getting a whole lot of people if they were national shows without this many pro cards.
Maybe that's the problem. They have to, you have to put the lure there to get people to come to your show. You could turn pro at this show. I mean, and I'm about to compete at Universe. Universe awards pro cards to the top 2 in each class, which I think is the most of any national show. And oh, Nationals does that too. Okay, yeah.
But those are the only
up there. Yeah, and I mean, the advertisements for this show literally say 130 pro cards.
I know. Did you get the email today?
Yeah.
I got an email today that said, I think the subject line was turn pro at Universe.
Right. Like, don't take the special out of it, I feel like.
I would also say that Universe is a little different because Universe has a lot of different age categories. So that is another element about Universe that makes it a little different. And that's why the pro card count is so high.
Yeah.
I think that this kind of conversation is an uncomfortable one for a lot of people to have, because no one no one wants to be the person who's like, oh, getting a pro card, you know, is easy, or
It's not easy. Let me tell you, I've been trying for a long
oh,
time.
I know.
Haven't done it yet.
But I think the difference is like approaching bodybuilding as more of a long-term like personal love, as
Yeah,
opposed to approaching it from I'm gonna get my pro card, like that's what I'm gonna do, you know.
totally. Well, it changes people's mindsets. People literally discover bodybuilding, and then the next thing you know, their bio says road to pro. I'm like,
Yeah, I know, what is that
chill.
about?
Like, oh my God, I started competing in 2015, and I was like, if I can be a pro in 5 years, that will be amazing.
Yeah,
And I
you're
just feel like that attitude isn't really there anymore. It's like, how fast can I turn pro? How young can I be when I turn pro? Well,
Mhm.
I don't know. Chase the physique, not the card. That's what everyone says, and I like that.
Oh, I've never heard anyone say that. I've heard people like obviously make that the comment about it's all about the process or the journey. And as cliche and kind of like emotional cheesy as those things are, I do believe in it. You know, if you're not loving every, you know, every moment of the process, even sort of the painful, uncomfortable ones, and you're really not getting everything out of it that you could.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now we've kind of gotten off on a tangent about like road to pro and stuff, but I think that's an important tangent to go on, because I think the appeal of some of these national shows is the pro card number. And so I think that that has changed the sort of the structure of the junior shows,
Mm.
and you know, giving out these pro cards and not reducing the size of classes because they want to guarantee a certain number of pro cards. And so I think it all ties together, maybe in a stream of consciousness kind of a way here, but it does all fit.
Yeah.
And I got some interesting sort of background information. It's specific to men's bodybuilding, but obviously my boyfriend competes in men's bodybuilding, and back in the day, I get all of like the historical bodybuilding lectures from Nate, and he back in the day they would only give the pro card to the overall winner at certain shows. So like USA's was only the overall winner. And now it's, you know, all class winners. And then at North Americans, it was only the overall winner. And then they made it the top 3 in the overall. And now it's the top 4 in the overall. And Nationals, which is usually held in November, now December, but Nationals only gave out pro cards to the class winners, and now they give it to the class winner and the second place winner of every class. So just a little historical context for people, because I think that, you know, the idea that it's easier to get a pro card, even though it's not easy, it is easier.
Are there more
It does keep
competitors
changing.
now than there were 10 years ago? I mean, I'd be curious. Are there more competitors in bodybuilding now than there were 10 years ago? Is that why they've increased the number of pro cards being given out?
So I have sort of I'm not sure how based in numbers my opinion is on this. I have to actually, I don't know if you can find numbers on stuff like this, to be honest with you, because all like promoter, like there's so many different promoters and stuff. But I think that the pro card wins are enticing people to bodybuilding. Whether or not the pro card wins are a result of bigger numbers, or if the bigger numbers are a result of the hype and the pro card and like
first. Yeah,
and like the
yeah.
social media side of things, where people are excited about pro cards, they're excited about, you know, being put in their bio. Yeah. I don't know what came first. Like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I'm not sure.
No.
So I mean, that's a good question. I don't have an exact answer. I think they kind of feed off of each other.
Yeah. Let's talk about some physiques now.
Great. All right, so we're going to get right on over into our physiques. And we had 6 pro card winners, including the overall winner. We had 4 competitors in Class A, actually 5, but one of them doesn't, for some reason, isn't placed on there. I'm not sure if she didn't go to the night show or not. We have 1 for Class B, 4 for Class C, 12 competitors in Class D, 7 in E, and 2 in F. So I think this really goes to show what we're talking about when we talk about the poor distribution of competitors, right? Because Class A, we have 5 people. Class B, we have 1. And to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Right here, for overall, for classes A, B, and C, there's only a total of 10 people. 10 people in 3 classes and 3 pro card winners. So to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Luckily, we have in our Class B, the one winner became the overall winner. So she was the only competitor in that class, won her pro card by winning the class, but then went on to win the overall. And I think, honestly, I think it's really lucky that Lisa Hutchins, our Class B winner, was the one who won the overall class and also in her own class, because she's really impressive. And I think that, if there had been a less impressive class winner who was the only one in her class, it would have been a little, I don't know if I want to say disappointing, but it would have been a little bit of a bummer because, whoever that competitor was wouldn't have been able to really prove themselves.
Yeah. I mean, putting yourself in her shoes, it's great that she went on to win the overall, because
Thank you for
putting it better. By default. You don't want to do that. It's just,
yeah, you don't want to win by default. And so she wins the overall, which means that not only does she not win by default, she's like dominating the show. Yes. That was my whole point. I just did a bad explanation. So we're actually going to jump right into Lisa Hutchins, our Class B winner and our overall winner. You can still see her, correct?
Yep.
Okay. I'm not a huge fan of this walking out photo, but once we get into the actual quarter turns, I think she looks fantastic. I have to switch my shared screen here. We're about to look at a front relaxed of Lisa Hutchins. And she looks beautiful. She has really great lines in her legs. She has nice rounded capped shoulders. She has a good abdomen. There's nothing distracting there. No etched out ab lines. But overall, she has really a clean look. And she has good condition from the front. And actually, you sent me a message about her right after she won. Do you remember what you said?
Oh, I don't remember. What did I say?
I remember because I disagreed with you at the time. And then when I went back and looked at the photos, I was like, holy crap, Anna was right. Our overall winner looks a lot like...
Oh, Maria Diaz.
She does. She has.
Yeah. I mean, she obviously has beautiful delts, but her clavicles are a little narrower than some people's. So she clearly worked very hard to bring up her lats and her delts to give her that overall V taper, which is very nice.
Absolutely. And I think that your comment about her looking like Maria Diaz was pretty spot on. And I was like, no way. I'm like looking on Instagram. And then I looked at the actual full shots on NPC News Online, like we are right now. And I thought, wow, she really does have a very similar look to Maria Diaz. And that's a big compliment.
Yeah.
So now, to save you all from me scrolling a lot, I'm just going to get right out of that screen and open up a new one. All right. So now I'm going to share her model pose. And this is not a full shot of her model pose. It's a little bit cut off, but that's just what NPC News Online has provided with us. So we have some transition photos. And here we go. We're going to get right into her back photo. And then we'll move on to our Class A winner. So I definitely think that, I'm going to show you the back photo now. I definitely think she's a lot less conditioned from the back than she was from the front, but still has a really clean look. You looking at what I'm looking at, Anna?
Yep, I see it right here. Yep.
Yeah, she doesn't have quite as good condition, but I think it was good enough to match her front that it didn't look...
Certainly. I mean, her hamstrings are popping.
Yeah, they have some, there's nothing like egregious here. I think overall, to be competitive at the next level, she'll probably just have to build her back up a bit.
Yep. But I do like how her quad sweep, you can see it from the back. That's something I'm working on for my own physique. Very nice. Which
is another Maria Diaz similarity. Maria Diaz has that nice quad sweep from the back. So
yeah. Beautiful calves. Like I said, a narrower upper body just structurally, but she still has developed a clear V taper into that small waist. So it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I think overall her front is kind of the knockout and her back is like pretty good, Yeah. It matches enough. And I think to make a great pro debut, she might just have to get a little bit leaner. It might not even be adding on a ton of size. It might just be getting lean enough to show what she has. Because I think if you look right here at her posterior chain, just like right in this area, I feel like she has some good muscle here.
Yeah.
And it might just need to be, chiseled away at a little bit more. But overall, I'm really happy that she won the overall because, you know, like I said, she was the only one in Class B, but then when she got out in front of the other class winners, she dominated, and that's got to be a really good feeling, because I bet she was probably disappointed to find that she was the only one in her class. I would be.
Yep.
Right?
We all know how that would feel. I mean, if you're a competitor, you can put yourself in those shoes right off the bat. Well, icky feeling. Yeah.
So that was our Class B winner who won the overall in figure. Now we're going to move on to Angelina Lopez. Angelina Lopez won the Class A in figure. And interestingly enough, NPC News Online only has women's physique photos of her. So I bet if I pull up the women's physique, she will also be there. She earned her pro card in women's physique as well, Class A women's physique. So I think that we'll talk about her afterward. I can give you a little sneak peek though. A little sneak peek. This is what she looked like women's physique. And I have to say, that's actually pretty impressive for a junior show. Not what I was expecting. Really conditioned.
Yes, very conditioned.
So now we'll move on to Class C, and Class C had 4 people. So just to recap, Class A had 5, Class B had 1, and Class C has 4. Okay, so our Class C winner is Olivia Rodriguez. She won her pro card, of course, and I'm going to show you guys her front relaxed. There's her front relaxed. Overall, she has a pretty good, I would say her shoulder cap is probably the most noticeable thing that strikes me right away, as well as her quad sweep. She has a really nice quad sweep. I like that she keeps her legs together and she really fills in that space between her adductors, because you know I don't like that thigh gap. And so overall, her lower body is my favorite part of her physique, because I just feel like it's full, it's muscular, and it looks appropriate for the stage.
Agreed. Yep.
Legs are often the one thing that I find in figure and women's physique that are kind of lacking, even at the national stage sometimes, because they're just harder to get big.
Yeah.
And so people make a lot of funny posing choices in order to create that bigness.
Right.
But overall, I think her legs have really great shape and they're a good size.
Yep.
And then we move on to her upper body. All right, so now we're gonna move on to her upper body, and you know, she, like I said, she has those really great capped shoulders. I like how hard they look, because sometimes that can look a little soft in female competitors, and I really like that hard look. But so now I want to talk about some things that I think could maybe be fixed to even make her more aesthetically pleasing than she is. I think one thing that I notice along with those big, hard, round shoulders is that she's really shrugging them up toward her neck. Which makes her look more narrow. It sort of it hinders the V taper a little bit because she's making herself more narrow. So it causes the lats to not really be opened up, and it really diminishes the V taper. And she might have a much better one than we can see if she just relaxes the shoulders down a little bit. What do you think?
Agreed. I can't tell from this specific shot if that is her structure or posing or a combination. I'll tell you right now, I talked about clavicle size on the overall winner. This woman has even smaller genetic clavicle length, which just puts her shoulders right on top of her lats like that. And, it's difficult to get a nice V out of that, but I still see, one here, but I agree with you. I think it could be developed more, maybe some more lats, maybe fix a little bit of the posing. We could get a better shape overall.
I agree. Clavicle size is super important, and it's obviously not something you can alter. It is what it is. You're born with.
We're born with it.
I do really think that with some posing changes, I think that even despite the smaller, clavicle width here, I think that her posing could be a big game changer for her, because she has a lot of the elements, and I just think she needs to open up, drop the shoulders a little bit if possible, and I think it'll really improve the front shot.
Yeah.
But those quads are
nice overall look though.
Yeah. She has a very clean look, and I think that a lot of times
for her.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, this is just my opinion, I think a lot of times the cleanness of the look, you know, how smooth and aesthetically appealing does the whole package look?
Yeah,
And
and
I'm
that's
not
a first
talking,
shot. I love that.
and I do too. You know, I'm gonna actually have a comment about this once I'm done my rant about cleanness. But I think that it's not about the color of the suit or the hair. Those are like the add-ons to the cleanness. But I think overall flow of your physique really is super important. And sometimes people might not understand why someone who's built or jacked or whatever, most striated doesn't win. It might be because their look didn't flow as well. It's got to be all the combinations, you know,
Yep.
jacked, aesthetic, flow,
Yeah.
condition. It has to, you have to have all of it in shape, obviously.
Yep.
Oh, so my comment about this photo, one of her transition photos we're looking at right now, is it almost has a wellness look to it, doesn't it?
I can see that. Yeah.
I could 100% see her in
Let's spin. I want to see. I want to see the posterior chain.
Yeah, well, the reason I say that too is because they're supposed to have. I think the girls that do really well in wellness so far, obviously we don't have a big pool to choose from, are the ones with that super narrow clavicle.
You're totally right, but they're still pretty developed in their upper bodies. I think that
They are, but they have the narrow clavicle. Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that are wide up top, I don't see doing very well in wellness in the future, but we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I said, yeah, man, divisions. I love it. You're born with a certain structure, and sometimes that might put you in the division.
You're meant to be in.
Your choice.
Yeah. I actually like this. We're looking at a side photo of her now, and I really think that, I mean, not that she isn't great in figure, but I think she could really do fantastic in wellness. Look at that. But let's take a peek at her booty. Let's see. Oh, we got an it's an okay model pose. I like her front pose better, but that's a good model pose. Her arm or her hand is kind of hiding a little bit. Again, the tenseness in the shoulders, and maybe you're right. Maybe it is due to clavicle width.
Can't tell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Hard to tell. We're gonna get right into that back shot though, as soon as I get through all of these. Oop. I have to go into the second page on NPC News. But I really do want to see that back shot to see if maybe she could do wellness, because that would be a cool option for her. Oh, you know, she actually has some pretty good muscle back there. Can you see it?
She's got a lot of muscle, yeah.
Yeah, her back is actually really lovely. That's probably a big component. See, we look at the front and we look at the back.
The back shot is nice on her. Again, could be more taper, but very conditioned. I see a nice tie-in. The hamstrings are sticking out. Her back is shredded, like shredded. And I love the rear delts. She's got nice developed rear delts as well.
She does. I think that the quad sweep from the back is really nice. And that's another thing that I don't feel like is talked about with wellness. Here I am on my wellness kick again. But you do have to have that quad sweep from the back. It's not just all the glutes. You have to have those big, thick legs. So,
true.
But, you know, I'd be ashamed to cover that back up with hair.
It would be a shame. Yeah, she's just grow those lats a little more. She'll be good.
Yeah. But so the comment you made about the rear delts is also kind of important, because when you pull your elbows back that far, it enhances the delt, but you lose lat.
Yes, it's true. I've done in multiple
so if she has a harder time already with the lats, it might be beneficial to maybe bring the arms forward a little bit and get more lat out of it and get maybe a little less delt. Yeah, but that's personal preference. So we're gonna move on. That was our Class C winner, who won her pro card, Olivia Rodriguez, Class C figure. Now we're going to move on to Rachel, and gosh, I'm going to butcher this last name. It is Reich Stuckart.
I can't see it.
I'm going to show you it, and we'll see if you can pronounce it better.
Let's see if I can do it any better.
Rachel Reich Stuckart, am I right?
Oh yeah, I think you're good.
I actually like that last name. It almost sounds like German. All right, so she is our Class D figure winner. Also, like I said, she's a pro card winner. So let me just bring up that front relaxed.
Let's see.
Number one shot I care about. I gotta be honest, that is my favorite shot on in figure in general. Ooh, okay. All right, first thoughts. My first thoughts go right to those quads.
Yeah.
She doesn't have as great a shape as the Class C winner, but she definitely has a better conditioning and better lines. So again, that's like a choice thing. That's a taste thing. It's do you
Yep.
want the shape? Do you want the lines? Personally, I want them both, but beggars can't be choosers. So I think that's probably where my eyes go first.
Definitely drawn right to the quads because I think it's the most conditioned part of her body as well, which obviously as women, that's tough to do. Mad props. Um,
You know what's
I think
interesting
some
about
pretty
that
good
is,
lats there too.
yeah, she does have good lats. It's interesting though, because you say that it's hard to get your quads separated like that as a woman. It's interesting that it is the most conditioned part of her from the front.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's isn't it interesting how our bodies choose where to lose the fat?
interesting and the bane of my existence. I'll say that.
Yeah. We're gonna go right into the back shot, okay? We're gonna just dive right in. I think that this shot is probably the number one way that she won.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
great.
That out. But she even has her elbows pulled a little. She would be wider if she had her elbows more in front.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Don't jut your elbows back. Don't pull them back. You have to like bring your lats forward when you spread. And I think that really
Yeah.
your
Surprisingly, my front pose and my back pose are completely separate poses. I'm sure you do
yeah,
this
mine aren't the same. I don't do the same thing
very
at
different
all.
pose. Yeah, you're not just turning around and doing the same thing. So
That's a good thing to note. And also, when I say this is how she won, when I say that for anybody who's listening and might not understand the context of that, I don't mean that you can win a show by one pose. I think that you have an overall well-roundedness to your look. And maybe you have one pose that puts you over the edge over others, but you can't have a completely mismatched front and back. You can't have a super developed front and then turn around and have your back be completely underdeveloped. Like you have to have a pretty good balance there. But like in my opinion, her back shot is more developed than her front. Not like not so much so that it's like super noticeable, but I would say like this is her money shot probably.
Oh, money shot for sure. Yeah, I mean, taking into account her back and front shot, I think the only thing I'm missing here, and could be easily tweaked, is a little bit of a rounder delt overall, and she may have been a contender for the overall if she had just a little bit more of that delt roundness.
I agree. You mean from the front, right?
Front, yeah, and you can see it in the back a little.
Actually, you can see it from the back. You're right. I think that I agree with you on that. But I love her hamstrings. They're great. They're carved out. Nice full glutes without the striations, which is
True. Yeah, which
definitely
is
what they say in the rules for figure. They don't want striations.
yeah.
So overall she looks fantastic, and I think you're right. I think that the shoulders are definitely the number one reason why she didn't take the overall. Now, I would like to say about her that it might be posing a little bit too. Her posing doesn't look quite as fluid as I think it could. I don't know if maybe that's just me. We all have different.
Overall winner Lisa looked very comfortable and confident up there.
Super comfortable. Yeah. I'm really happy for her. I think that she looks natural. Natural. Right, so now we're going to go on to our next, our final figure pro card winner. And again, this name, I'm going to have a hard time with this. Adita.
We have two more, don't we?
I think it's Adita.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Adita. I think it's Adita. Yep. We are going to apologize in advance if we're mispronouncing that. So she's definitely in the taller class. I'm not really sure what height class this is. Do you know?
Got to be E, because then F, we still have F, and that there were two people in that class, right?
Yeah. So what is E then? 5'6"?
Girl, I don't even know.
I think 5'6"-ish. We're gonna go with 5'6"-ish. I've never been in class E, and I'm 5'5.5". I'm usually in D or C, depending on the show. So our class E winner here, I'll be honest, she's super conditioned. Like that is fantastic condition.
Feathering in her quads.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of her posing.
Okay.
Yeah, not a huge fan. It's like pencil posing. But she worked really hard for that conditioning. She looked like she suffered.
Yes, she does.
That's what she looks like. All right, I'm gonna pull up a back pose because I'm really curious. Oh, I can already tell her back is gonna be pretty legit. Okay, wow, her back pose is great.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But again, the posing is a little awkward. The arms, the hands. She doesn't really have a V taper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love for I would love for her to get with a posing coach because I think that she could be phenomenal.
She is so damn conditioned
Yeah, she
for
is. You
her.
can tell that she
That
suffered.
is just phenomenal, phenomenal conditioning. I mean, you can see the line between her glute, her hamstring, and her quad all the way up the side
Mhm.
of her legs from the back. It's pretty nice.
And
Um,
veins in her calves.
Veins, vascularity
Yeah.
everywhere, just hardness. Her
Super
traps
hard.
have striations.
Mhm.
It's yeah, she worked hard for that. Good for her.
Yeah. I especially love right here from the back that
Yeah,
line that you were talking about
pretty.
between the
Yeah.
hamstrings and the quads because you don't always get that kind of a dug out line.
Mm,
That's the best way I think to describe her conditioning. It's
dug
dug.
out.
Yeah,
Yep.
I would only say that for like the absolute most conditioned person.
Mhm.
I do like this model pose. I think this model pose is really nice. I'm gonna show you the one more. I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
a really nice model pose. She could use
Yeah.
a bit more shoulders, but overall, I think she is the most conditioned person I've seen so far,
Yep.
hands down. Like no contest.
Mm,
She has a pretty good color. She's really has a dark tan.
yep.
I think the color overall is a good fit for her. Love the jet black hair. Love the way she's wearing it. I think she has all the components. The only thing is just that posing. That's really the only critique I have for her. It just doesn't look quite as natural. But
Yeah, I'm with you on
and
that.
she worked really hard. Hard to knock somebody who works that hard. We have one class left, and I don't think this name is going to be a new one for a lot of people because she's pretty popular online. It's Haley Wegner, and this is another one of those classes that just wasn't not a huge class. Obviously, it was two people, and I think that Haley would have won her pro card regardless of
Yeah,
what
I
class
mean
it
that's what we
was.
talked about before, right?
Yeah.
Like we both feel that Haley has a pro physique and it was just a matter of time.
Mhm.
So, neither of us want to take away from this win for her at all because it probably would have happened regardless of the class size. But it is still disappointing as a competitor to have that happen to you. So I feel for her for sure.
I do too, and I think that I might light a fire a little bit more. I mean, she's already one of those people that has like a constant fire burning under her. She just has that personality.
Yes. Yes.
She's constantly motivated. I feel
Yep.
like that's
I follow her on Instagram. She's very motivating. She's also very educated. I think she's a dietitian.
I think she's getting her master's right now to be an RD.
Yeah,
I
something like
think.
that.
I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that. So yeah,
Um,
she's in school for her master's. But I think so. I think for her, this might just winning her pro card in class up two might make the fire even bigger to be an even more badass
yeah.
pro because she
Yeah.
already had the fire lit. She's already got all the goods.
Yeah.
But I'm disappointed in I think the show itself for not changing the classes a little bit so you don't have people winning in classes of one or two.
Yeah.
Luckily both of our tiny class winners, Lisa and Haley, are
They
100%
both look great.
badasses.
Yeah, exactly.
So it worked out really well, but that's like a lucky thing. Like it wouldn't necessarily have been Haley or Lisa. It didn't necessarily have to be two really badass figure competitors. Do you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yep.
We just happened to get lucky.
Yep.
So I just showed her model pose, and now I just want to show the front pose.
One of the nicest things about Haley is she just has a lot of size to her. I love
Yeah,
that.
she's tall, right? 5'7", 5'8".
Tall and she is filled out well for her height. Like, honestly, looking at her right there in her front pose, she has almost a perfect figure shape. I know because I follow her on Instagram how hard she worked to dig out her quads. Like I know that was one of her feedbacks from a couple other shows she did this year. And that's just genetically super hard for her. But she and Shelby Starnes, who's her coach, did a really good job with that. I love her shoulders. I'm obsessed with her shoulders.
She has great shoulders.
Shoulders and arms. She's just jacked. And I don't know that she would need any more size to be a competitive pro. I think it would just be more density and more conditioning for her,
I
honestly.
disagree a little bit. The only
Yeah.
side that I think she needs lat.
More lat. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think she needs more lat.
It's
Because
always tough for the tall girls. They got to put
I
on so much more.
know. But I will say everything else is really nice. I think the quads, you're right, the quads look good. How long was her prep? Do you know?
Oh God, I think it was like more than 30 weeks or so. I mean,
Yeah.
just a
And I
long
think that
time.
shows a little bit
Okay.
personally. I think that
Okay.
her body looks a little tired, but
Tired.
I've been watching her for a while and I've seen her at all the other shows. So I know she's looked fantastic. Like I
Yeah,
thought
and
she
this
looked
was
great
her
at
leanest look, I think. At
I
least.
thought she looked really good at Junior USA's, maybe a little bit fresher because she hadn't been in prep for as long, although still pretty long. But
Yeah.
overall, I think her delts look great, her quads look great. Tan could be 2 shades darker.
Could be darker, yeah.
Yeah, I think the tan is a little light. Yeah, and the abs are a little washed out, but overall, I mean, now we're just nitpicking. She looks great. I'm gonna share another pose. I like her back pose a lot, actually. I think it's probably my favorite. Yeah, I really like her back pose. So now we're gonna look at that. I think she just has a really good look from the back. I think the bigness, for lack of a better word, that you were describing, I think that shows from the back.
It does. Yeah.
She looks
She's
big
solid.
from the back
Solid. Yep. I
in
love it.
the best possible way.
Yep.
You can see her hamstring lines.
Yep.
You can see those nice, thick corded back muscles. I really like that. And her width is a lot better from the back as well. Yeah, she looks great.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think that she's as tall as she is. Right? She's so tall and still pretty big. So that concludes our roundup of the figure winners. Now we don't have as many winners for women's physique. We already covered one of them. Winners. We have the overall pro card winner, which her name is Andrea Alonso. And then we also have 3 other pro card winners. Angelita Lopez, which we already introduced everybody to from Class A figure. She also won Class A women's physique. And unfortunately, women's physique, again, is another category. And this is not a new newsflash here. Women's physique at these shows tends to be a lot smaller. Women's physique at the pro level gets super competitive, and those women are shredded to the bone and enormous. But at the amateur level, it's kind of hit or miss. The classes are a lot smaller, usually, not always, but usually. And the conditioning can be a little back and forth, depends. So just to give everybody a little introduction, Class A of women's physique had 2 people, Class B had 4, Class C had 5, and Class D had 2. Okay, so overall, that's not a ton of people. I think that's 13. That's only 13 competitors, 4 classes. So, yeah. There we have it. And 4 pro card winners. So 4 out of 13 got pro cards. Now, luckily, we already showed Andrea, and I think Andrea looks. Oops, nope, we didn't show Andrea. Sorry, we showed Angelita. And I think Angelita looks fantastic. We're not going to go through every single pose because that would take forever, but we are going to go through a few. Let me bring up one. This is just a random pose. This isn't a mandatory. These poses are all from the performance, I believe, the actual routine part of the program, and not the quarter turns. So that's Andrea.
On her. Wow.
Yeah, now I'm excited about this because it seems like, I haven't looked at all these competitors yet. It seems like this was a pretty competitive women's physique at Junior Nationals, and it doesn't always. Like I said, it's kind of hit or miss. But this looks pretty competitive. Let me bring up a better one. These are all kind of like odd transition photos. So here is a photo that I'm not really sure what the name of it would be, but she's sort of standing in a side lateral lunge.
Superwoman pose.
It's a moving pose, exactly. It's a routine pose. She has a really nice delts. Like Anna just exclaimed, she has nice sweepy quads. She looks like she has a pretty small waist. She has a great tan. Everything really is just fitting together. So I don't know, she's got a fan. I like her.
I like her. in physique. She's big, solid girl. For her.
I actually really liked her in figure too. So normally I have to say, normally I'm not a huge fan of people crossing over to national show because I tend to believe that by the time you're at a national show, you should kind of already know where you belong. But you know, she might be one of those people that has done really well in both divisions locally as well. So that might be why she ended up, you know, doing it here at the national level.
Yeah.
So I want to show one more pose from her.
Woo.
Before we get to her back. I love that. I think of that as the Juliana Malakane pose. I love that pose. It's the one where she's standing on one foot, showing off the glute striations with her hands on her hips. Anyone who knows Juliana back from her women's physique wins knows the pose I'm talking about.
Yep.
It looks really great on this competitor.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do one more share from her before we move on to our Class B. And I just want to get a back pose because, you know, we can't evaluate women's physique without looking at the back. Here are her figure poses. Shoot, girl, you might change your mind when you see these. We're going to look at them. She's fantastic, actually. She's my new favorite. I'm surprised she didn't win the overall. Are you looking at that?
Yeah, I think it's too big for figure.
Oh,
I'm gonna be straight up with you.
I disagree.
I think
okay, so here's the thing. It's because
just overall bulk, too much for figure. Figure to me, and we can totally disagree. That's totally fine. Figure to me is like a muscle Barbie look. Like you should not be so overdeveloped that. I mean, she has so much muscle on her. She has more muscle.
Your opinion about figure is how I feel about bikini. I think bikini is like Barbie doll, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Everybody who knows me knows that I have many bikini friends I think are absolutely gorgeous, but I do think of it as more of the Barbie doll. Like if you look at a pro on the Olympia stage, they have that much muscle. I'm not saying she looks like an Olympian, but the pros on the stage don't look like the girls we've been looking at.
Maybe it's just my wishful thinking that figure would stop getting so freaking big, and we would keep some division between figure and women's physique. Maybe that's just me being.
No, I do know what you're thinking because it does get like kind of gets like a, I don't want to call it a spiral, but it does sort of become like a cart running down a hill. You can't stop it, and that is kind of the way it has become. But I think with the addition of wellness and women's physique, and I think having all of these different divisions does kind of help keep it in check. So, okay, so you think she's too big for figure.
Well, I mean, think about the Olympia figure winner every year for the last couple of years, Sid Gillen. She is very streamlined. She is not bulky. She is
big, no.
She's not though. She's not.
Okay, so before we move on from these figure poses, let's look at her front in figure.
Sure. I'm an open-minded person. You can choose.
I think that's stunning personally. Although I don't
beyond stunning. That is, I'm not saying she's not stunning. Like
I should say for figure. I think.
Please, yeah.
Well, one thing I will say that I'm not a fan of is I don't like the suit bottoms look like bikini.
They do.
That's like the one thing I don't like about her, so that's pretty good.
That's interesting.
Wow.
You know, and I guess
I'm a fangirl. I dig this look.
She's a phenomenal athlete. That's very clear. Now, she won her class in figure. She won her class in physique. She did not get the overall in either of those. Is that correct?
Yeah, no. I'm surprised.
That's interesting to me. So the fact that she did not get the overall in figure tells me the judges were making a statement.
I don't think everything is quite as dramatic as that, personally. Because, like, a statement, I mean, they're just judges on the panel. They're not like, I don't think they're thinking about overall repercussions. Maybe at the Olympia, yeah, the Olympia, the Arnold, those big shows. But I don't know. You think of these smaller shows, they're really, like, defining things?
No, I'm not saying a statement on the divisions. I'm saying a statement about her. I think they prefer her in physique because I
win the overall in physique either.
I know that, which is interesting to me. So I don't know what to make of that. But
I think
if you put her picture up next to the overall figure winner.
So like let's go to Instagram just for a quick second. Now we're getting off on a tangent. Let's look at Liv Roth. You know Liv Roth, yeah?
Yeah.
Obviously, who doesn't know who she is. So she won her pro card actually the year that I did the first year I did junior USAs. And let's look and see what she looks like. She's doing figure. And she was also, I think, class A or B. Do you know? I want to say A. So I think she's pretty short. But I also think like this is the look, you know, I think even for pro figure, I think she's too small. I think that this is like a small look. And by the way, I'm not saying I think she's small. I think she's great. But I think when you're at like the Olympia level or those super high levels, I think those women are pretty big.
Agree to disagree. I met Sid in person. She's a tiny human. So I don't know. I agree there are exceptions to every rule, obviously. I know there's some real big figure girls. I've even told you that before because I question myself and my ability to compete at a pro level if I ever turn pro. So I totally get it. There are some big ladies, but it seems like sometimes they pick the smaller ones too that have a streamlined look.
Oh, it's overall package. Absolutely.
And I just, for some reason, I just think that the one we were talking about from Junior Nationals, she just seems so big to me. Maybe it's just,
you know what it would be a really good way for us to actually look at this is we should look at the comparison.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's look at the comparisons because maybe she looks huge on her own but isn't actually huge.
Possible. It's all illusion, smoke and mirrors, bodybuilding. We know that.
Exactly. So here's the figure overall comparison I'm going to share. Let me get like a good one because there are a bunch.
It's always tough too with shorter girls with more muscle. I can relate to that. I'm 5'2", so like
that was my other thought. She's
start working very wide. Yeah.
So this is the comparison, and I like these comparisons because you can see everybody in the order of the class because they do by height. I personally don't think that she looks that enormous.
She has bigger legs than anybody else on that stage, though. I'll say that.
Oh, absolutely. But I think like the overall winner is right here, this class B. And I think that look at her quad sweep and everything. I agree class A is bigger, but I just definitely like her in figure. But I like her in physique.
I'm curious now that I see the two of them next to each other. I wonder what they felt was more figure about the overall winner that they picked.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's a good question. I think as far as judging goes, now this is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, anyone who's listening and you too. But I personally think that the judging, like they have certain standards, right? But they're judging in a moment in time. They're not like, they don't get to like sit there and talk about it with each other like we are. Like they put numbers on a paper.
Sure. Yeah.
And maybe like converse a little bit. Like we all see them when we're on stage. If you're paying attention, you see them talking to each other. But I don't think that it's quite like what we're doing right now. We're like going back and forth and looking at all the.
We don't have the time to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't think like in between prejudging and finals, like I think everyone thinks the judges are thinking about them. No, the judges, are you kidding me? They're judging other classes. They're getting a bite to eat. They're peeing. They're not thinking about that one brunette that they saw or blonde girl that they saw.
No. Oh my God, the sea of faces that must parade in front of the judges at a show. I've never been a judge. I would love to be a judge someday because I would love to know how difficult it is. I'm sure it's really friggin' hard. You see so many goddamn people, so many.
And you don't remember people. That's another thing. Everyone thinks it's like connected to their Instagram popularity. Like they do not know who you are.
First impressions, you hit the stage, you either draw their attention or you don't, and that's it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I don't think, I mean, obviously once you get to the bigger levels and you're at like the Arnold or the Olympia, they might know who you are if you've been there several times. Like they know who Sydney Gillen is, but they don't know, they don't know who I am. I'll tell you that right. They never will.
Me either.
But anyway, back to this. I think they all look great. I think that she'll do well in either class. I'm curious. We're still talking about our Class A women's physique winner. I think that it'll be interesting to see whether or not she does women's physique or figure in the future when she's a pro. I think it's also worth noting that there was a women's physique, I believe it was Class A winner back in 2018, I think. maybe 2019, not 2018, who is now, she won her pro card in figure and she looked phenomenal. And my boyfriend met her in person and interviewed her and he said, wow, she's huge. And she does women's physique now. She's prepping for women's physique competition. So I think that that is worth noting, that maybe, I think it's hard when you're that shorter class, honestly. You might find better success in women's physique.
Yeah.
You know, why that is, I'm not 100% sure, but all right, so now that we have discussed her at length, wow, we went all out on that. Now we'll go to the overall winner, who is Andrea. Let's see here. I'm just gonna give a couple front shots. This is her front double, and I think one thing is really clear: she is super conditioned.
She is very conditioned.
She's very conditioned. To me, she looks a little bit more like women's bodybuilder than women's physique.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah. She's got very nice muscle bellies. She's obviously very shredded. She has a thicker waist than some of the women's physique competitors that I've seen do well at the pro level.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
But I think that, yeah, I mean, give her another year of an off season, she might be a very good contender in women's bodybuilding. She's got the size for it, that's for sure.
I think the one thing is her chest development. And no, I'm not talking about implants. I'm talking about actual muscle. I think her chest is really shallow. That's the one thing that I have to say if you're going to be going to women's bodybuilding. Not that she is, but if that were something she was interested in, it'd definitely be a chest development.
Can we look at
a couple more from her?
Pose?
What'd you say?
Can we look at a side chest and see?
Yeah, so I have a side try right here. I don't think that you're going to be super stoked on her side chest, but we'll do side chest and then side try. She has really good arms from the side. She has great arms. I love the separation between her her medial delt and her bicep. That conditioning goes.
And her glute is very sharp and a nice ham drop there too.
Yeah, she does. She has a really nice lines from the side down her leg. I think that the posing overall could be altered a little bit in this side chest. It's almost more of an arm pose than it is a chest pose.
Wait a minute. What? Hold on.
Yes, ma'am. What's that?
Is that a side chest?
She's doing bodybuilding poses. You know what? Maybe
she's doing bodybuilding poses. Side chest is with your arms extended in women's physique.
You know what I'm wondering? I think she might have done women's bodybuilding as well. So one of the reasons we're actually not going to cover women's bodybuilding today on the podcast is because we're only covering pro card winners. And there were no, according to NBC News Online, there were no pro card winners for women's bodybuilding. I'm not sure what their rules are at this show for women's bodybuilding. Maybe they don't award pro cards at all.
Yeah.
Let's see, actually, though. Let's take a peek, and I'm going to see if maybe there are some women's physique poses in here. Maybe she did both. All I'm seeing, though, are bodybuilding. Oh, nope, here we go. On page 3, we have some women's physique. But I don't think you're going to be, I don't think this side chest is really what you're going for either. There you go, you can see it now.
Oh yeah, well I can't see her chest, so I can't judge her chest.
Yeah.
No comments.
Completely from the side, but again, you know what I do like about her? She's conditioned. She did not show up out of shape. She's really good.
Is clean lines all over the place. Love it.
And I love that you can see striations in her delts. Not only do you have that nice medial delt into the arm, but you also have those striations, which I love seeing those. And she has a really great tan, which is important because when you're too pale, it doesn't matter how great you look. You know, the paleness will prevail.
Yeah.
No rhyme.
You almost can't even notice that big tattoo she has, but if you look close, obviously she's.
Oh, on the side. There we go. That is a side
developed chest.
That's much better. Okay. Yeah. So her chest does look good. I think the issue is from the front. Her chest looks really flat, but it looks nice and striated from the side, which shows that it's in good condition. Clearly, look at her. I mean, she's in fantastic condition, but she's in good condition, but I just think it needs to be a little bit fuller. So maybe some chest exercises. I think her side try is really nice. I have to open up a new page to show the side try, but I saw the side try in her bodybuilding poses. And I think it's pretty good. Yeah, it's still a little wonky. I think she has a hard time twisting at the torso because if you look at all of these poses, she's leaning forward quite a lot, so it doesn't seem like she has really good rotation. And so maybe some mobility stuff, you know what I mean? That might help. Might help posing a lot. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
But overall, I like that. So she won the women's physique overall. I'm really curious about this. She won the women's physique overall. She clearly did women's bodybuilding. I'm glad that we could see the difference because it looked very different. It's amazing how the posing changes.
Yep.
Now that you've seen both, what do you think she fit better in?
I mean, I think she has to grow a little to be competitive at the pro level in women's bodybuilding, that's for sure. Um,
Honestly, oh, that's nice. I think she has to grow a little bit to be competitive in women's physique.
her-
Well,
yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
could see it.
but she is. Damn, she's shredded. I know we keep saying that, but like
Shredded.
it's like
Yeah.
staring right at us in the face. She's shredded. Although it is interesting, her glutes are not super shredded. That is such a hard area.
Mm.
But they still look really good. They're in good
They're pretty
condition.
sharp. Even though there's no striations from that angle, they are very sharply defined at the tie-in.
And her back is, look at those rear delts.
Yeah.
And how you can see the medial delt in this pose too. It just looks great.
Yeah.
So overall, I get why she won the overall. I think she won it because she was shredded, she was polished, you know. So I do get that. Our last competitor and our final pro card winner in women's physique is Kimberly Sayers, and she is in, what was I say, Class D? I think she's in Class D. So I'm just gonna pick a couple poses. They're from the routine. I don't have any mandatories here.
Oh,
Technically.
I think this competitor did figure too. I believe she was top 5 in her figure class.
Oh, do you remember what class she was in?
I don't.
So this is going to be an interesting one. If we look at her figure pictures, actually they'll show up if I go back far enough, because I'm curious, like what, you know, how we talked about not crossing over. I'm wondering what division we think she would have fit better in. So here is a back photo from her before we move on to her figure poses. So I think she looked really looked a bit more clean from the front. Her back photo is good. It definitely is not like super imbalanced, but I think that her glute areas, obviously her glutes and her hamstrings, could definitely be more in condition. And I'm really curious if with the back relaxed that we do in figure with the heels, I wonder if maybe her glutes and hams came out a little bit better, you know, with the different pose. They do a back relaxed in women's physique as well, but you know, the heels do change things a little bit.
Heels make it harder for me.
Oh, really? Well, some people think that or feel like it might help their glutes look better. I think it depends though on posing, you know. So let's take a peek. This is her in her back relaxed for figure. I'm not a super huge fan of her posing here, but I will say that it does make her hamstrings and glutes look better than it did in the women's physique.
I must be the oddball because when I'm not in my heels, for some reason, I have more of a tie-in.
Oh, really? That is weird. That's interesting.
I think when my toes can connect with the floor and squeeze more, I have a better connection at firing that muscle for some reason, just me.
You know, that doesn't sound that like weird. That sounds kind of like it makes sense actually in a way. Because you can actually use your feet. It is harder to like push the floor. You know, posing coaches usually say like push the floor apart to make your legs come alive. And it is kind of hard in those heels, like 5-inch heels. It's hard. Overall, I think the back pose is a little awkward though.
No, I'm not a fan of this shot for her. I like her in physique, I guess.
I do too, but I am curious. Before we move on, I am curious what her front pose looks like in women in figure. Oh, yeah, I like her better in women's physique too. I think our comment stands. I do like her better in women's physique. I'm gonna show you the front pose first. It's kind of hard to get to because NPC News has posted like 7 pages worth of photos of her. So that's the front pose.
That's her pose?
I think so. It's the transition, but the next page, I can show you the next page here. It's not oh, here we go. I guess that's like a little bit better, but it's not her full body.
Interesting. Okay.
They didn't get a full body one of her, which is kind of a disappointment for her.
She's
She's
very conditioned.
you said she's very what?
She's very conditioned.
Yeah,
From
she's really
front.
conditioned. You know, it's funny how even the posing, you know, something just might feel more natural to you, and I think women's physique must feel more natural to her. She looks more natural in women's physique poses. Like she looks at home in them.
And
Where
she certainly has the size to pursue a career in women's physique. So
yeah,
I like that for her.
you
Yeah.
like her. Well, that's good because that's where she won a pro card.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks better in those poses. They look like they fit her more.
Yeah.
She has interesting quads. She has like a quad sort of up top and then not
Yep.
really any, she doesn't really have a teardrop at all.
Yep.
So, but that wasn't as apparent in the women's physique poses for some reason.
Right. Yeah.
Overall, though, she looked good where she won her pro card. So that's really all that matters. She didn't win it in figure. She won it in women's physique.
Yep.
So that's everybody we have. You know, we have 6 pro card winners in figure, and I believe we had 4 pro card winners in women's physique. So overall, you know, I think the show was really great despite the mismatched levels of competitors in each division. But I do think that that's something that needs to be addressed in the future. That way, competitors who work so hard for so many years, plus all of those, you know, months of prep, they really feel like, wow, I'm competing against the best. I'm going to bring my best, and they get to feel like, you know, really good about it. Good about their win.
You want to earn your pro
earn
card.
it.
Earn
it. You want to earn it. How far out are you from earning it? 2 weeks?
8 days, 7 days tomorrow. It's peak week tomorrow.
So we're all gonna wish Anna and send out good vibes for Anna as she goes.
Oh yeah, I guess we probably won't record another one until I'm done. Wow.
You know, unless I can sort of finagle one out of you next week.
Maybe on Wednesday, the day before I compete.
We have the Puerto Rico Pro coming up, and we definitely want to do a review of the Puerto Rico Pro. I'm really excited. I'm super stoked with Puerto Rico. I'm actually more stoked about Chicago. The Chicago Pro is going to be a blast. You know, I know that we don't talk about wellness a ton yet, but I'm really excited to see Renee Jewett compete in.
Oh God, I love her.
I do too, man. I love her. I love them as a couple.
Yeah, they're just so real. They're like
disclaimer, I don't actually know them in real life. I only know them on the internet. But
I only know Renee through Instagram, but we've messaged and she's just such
I messaged her like randomly out of the blue and she responded like a normal, nice human being. I was like, she's a good one. I like it.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't message her anything creepy, so I bet if
right.
Creepy stuff. I started following this Instagram
right into those DMs.
Have you seen that it's like guys in the DM or something?
Dudes in the DM. Yep, I follow that.
I started following that profile this week, and some dudes send some weird shit.
It's interesting.
That's really
safe out there, ladies.
I know. Actually, I think there was one that I really liked today. I'm gonna bring it up real quick, and then we're gonna close off. We're gonna leave on some dudes in the DM. Do you have any that you remember that were like really funny?
Oh my God. I think I saw one yesterday that I got a big kick out of, but I can't even remember now. Yeah.
I think there was one today, especially, that I was like, that's freaking funny. Oh, this one. So this is dudes in the DM on Instagram. Pretty funny. Started by a model, I think, right?
I think so.
And these are actual DMs, like sent to a woman's Instagram account. Hypothetically, if I were a watermelon, would you spit or swallow my seed?
Nice.
Wait, there are a couple good ones. This is like, hey, I think I saw you on Grubhub. Oh? Yeah, I was looking up 5-star places I could eat out.
Worst pickup lines ever.
Oh, I don't think I can read this one. I can't read this one. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. Anyway, follow dudes in the DM if you want some kind of bad humor. I don't know. It's funny though. So anyway, thank you for joining us, guys. If you made it all the way through, you heard a lot of our opinions, and we're looking forward to doing it again when we review the Puerto Rico Pro. We have an interview coming up in I think like a couple weeks. with somebody that's going to be really exciting to be announced. And then the Chicago Pro and Universe.
Yeah,
it's going to be a busy
lot. We've got a lot in the next couple weeks to go over. So thank you for being here. One more congratulations to all of the pro card winners at Junior Nationals. You guys all looked phenomenal. And we love you.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.